Hey everybody, I am on the road. We're on our way over to a private house here in South Florida, and the gentleman who we're going to go see, we've met before. He has a big block 69 Camaro. He's retired military. He has 2 daughters in the military. Give me a second here. This is where we're headed. So welcome to another episode of Junkyards and Barn Finds with Sean, and I'm Sean. Hey guys, so like I said, we're on the road. We're over here in South Florida, and we're looking at the car behind me. You guys have actually seen once or twice before. We looked at it at a car show, and the gentleman who owns it, he's retired military, and he has invited us to his house to see a very, very special car with a really nice story. And so I'm going to turn the camera around. He's here with his wife, and we've met him before because you talked to us about your Camaro.
I talked to you back in Miramar Outlets about the Chevy Camaro.
Right. So tell me a little bit, introduce like who you are, who you guys are.
Well, my name is Louis Grasso. This is my wife, Ronnie.
And you guys are originally from where?
We're originally from the Connecticut area, New York, Connecticut.
And you're retired military?
And I'm retired military, and we're married 50 years now. We're going on 50 years, 2022.
So you moved down to South Florida, and this is where you're at. You retired.
This is my home record.
And you've got the Camaro, which is relatively new for you.
Camaro is, like I said, I think I told you before, about 3 years old. Well, 3 years to me anyway.
Yeah.
And we've been doing work to that, like I told you in the last video.
But the one thing is, you told me when we did the video before and we visited, you said you were talking, because I like Chevelles, and we were talking about engines and stuff. And then you told me a story about a car, which we're going to show in a second. But tell me a little bit about how this car came to be. Okay,
it's got a little bit of history to it. In 1969, I was in the last year of high school, and my dad came home one day and said he bought a 1969 Chevelle Malibu. And at that time, I was working on vehicles, and I said, Dad, if you're going to buy that car, you got to buy the 350-300 engine. And he said, what is that? I thought, just listen to me. You got to buy that with turbo hydromatic and positive traction. Well, he went out, and he bought it. Okay. And I have, believe it or not, I found it, the original order form, right, which shows the 350-300 that he ordered, all right? And so the car was delivered.
$3,200.
$3,200 in 1969. It was January 18th of 1969. Wow. So he ordered the car, and it was delivered, and he drove it as a regular car. Well, I told him, I said, Dad, Mom, you know something? I'm going to pull the engine out of this Chevelle of yours, and I'm going to build a hot rod. And they said, you're crazy. I said, no, I'm real. One of these days, I'm going to build a hot rod with that engine. That's a good engine.
Right.
Well, time went on. About six months later, 4 months, whatever it was, and I got my license, and I bought a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro, which I think I showed you the pictures. Right, we had the pictures before. It was a brown one, right? Brown Camaro with the white interior. Right. Yeah. So I had that car, and I did a lot of drag racing on the street with that car in the Bronx. That's all I did. Well, my wife was still, we were dating at that time, and well, a couple of years later, we got married, and I decided, well, you know something, we don't have to have this car any longer. So we got into boats. And funny thing, so we sold the car. Actually, I sold to her brother. And then her brother sold to someone else. Whatever happened to it after that, I have no idea. But that was a rare Camaro. Never bothered me. I sold it. Right. I was just married. I said, I don't need any of this stuff anymore. So we went on with life. And after about 10 years, it started bothering me about the Camaro a little bit, but not that much. Well, my first daughter was born in 1980, and around 1983, she was 3 years old, and my second daughter was born in 82. Okay. And fooling around somehow, I don't know what happened. I was working at a dealership, and this was in New Rochelle, and I saw this brochure. Right. So I said, man, I got to build one of them one of these days. I got just just the engine I'm gonna pull out of my dad's car.
Now this is like 1980 when you could have got like a Chevelle or Camaro back then. They were $1,300, $1,400 bucks. Even the SS big blocks were only $2,500, and a lot of people were getting into T-buckets, and the plastic fiberglass kits were just coming out then.
Right, they were. Well, a little bit earlier.
Like a little, but I mean, it wasn't like they are now where everybody you could buy a kit. There was no internet or anything else, so this is the only way you would find one.
I had to go to Connecticut, but before this happened, in 1979, sadly, my father passed away of cancer, and I had the Chevelle. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I took the engine transmission out, put it in my garage in Connecticut, and just left it there. Well, my daughter was 3 years old, like I was saying. I said, hey, you want to build your car? Of course, it was really, it was just an excuse. So my wife was there. I said, well, what color do you want, Tammy? And she said, yellow. I said, okay. So I found this, and we went up to Total Performance in Connecticut.
Right.
And we actually ordered the kit. And I had her pick out the color, and this is the color she wanted. She picked it out of a book.
So your 3-year-old?
Just a 3-year-old.
So the 3-year-old said, that's the color I want.
So she picked out this car, and I said, okay. So we ordered the kit, and we took it home. And
we're going to show you the car, guys. Just relax.
This is the book that you would buy the car from. And you would actually put it together as a kit. You got all the parts.
So you could buy anything, any option.
This was made by Total Performance up in Connecticut. He's no longer in business, but this was, like I said, 1983. I think he went out of business in the early 2000s.
Okay.
But anyway, this is, like I said, my father's car. That's him in World War II.
Your dad.
And well, that's me in the.
So you guys, home military family. Yeah. In fact, your daughters are both military.
Well, I get into that now. Okay. So anyway, time went on. And we built the car.
Okay. And is this your daughter?
That's my.
I'll explain that one.
Okay.
While we were building the car, this was my younger daughter.
Oh, okay.
Sitting down on top of the engine as we loaded it into the chassis. And I'm sure at that time, if somebody would have seen this picture, I probably would have got picked up for child abuse or something.
But that was the 80s when we were riding in the back of pickup trucks and everything else, and El Caminos, and standing up on lawn chairs while doing 80 miles an hour.
So I told.
Exactly true.
So again, time goes on. My daughters got a little older. They went to school. They went to high school, and I always told my oldest daughter, well, you can have this car when you're 16. Well, sure enough, she turned 16. She said, Dad, you promised me the car. I said, oh, yeah, I guess I did. She said, well, do I get it? I said, yeah, I promised that you could have it. But you got to work on it. You got to take the camshaft out, and you got to put a regular camshaft in. So I showed her how to do it, and she did it. And she used this car through high school. Not to go to school, but they used it in proms and
special events,
outings, all stuff like that. I wouldn't let her use it to go to school. But they used it, and she was a big hit in school because this thing was also in her yearbook, I believe, at the end of the year.
Yeah, both of them used to take it to school.
And they're also, Tammy used it, and then Kathleen also used it.
Okay.
Right?
Kathleen's prom, the night she used it, I think they had their tornado going through.
Yeah, the tornado going through, so she had to come home with it for her prom. But, so they use it, and then again, time goes on.
And we're talking, what, late 80s?
Well,
probably.
Let me see.
Early 90s?
About 95, 96 at this time.
Okay. And by then the car's, what, 6 or 7 years old?
The car at that time we built it in 1983.
Okay.
So it makes this car right now almost close to 40 years old.
Right.
But, so my daughter didn't know what to do, and she always wanted to be a nurse, and she wanted to be a nurse in the Army. So she tried hard, and she got a scholarship for Norwich Military University up in Vermont. Got a 4-year scholarship, and she joined the Army. And as of right now, she's a lieutenant colonel, and she's actually third in command of Belvoir Hospital up in Virginia. And she met someone in Iraq. When she was in Iraq, she was a critical care combat nurse. And she married him. Well, he's an Apache pilot. He flew the attack helicopters.
Okay.
Now, my other daughter didn't really know what she wanted to do, but I said, look, you ain't going to go work in a department store. So she joined the Army too, and she's a Patriot missile master gunner.
Okay.
Well, actually, she's a Patriot missile loader, a platoon sergeant.
Right.
And her husband is a Patriot missile master gunner.
Okay.
So the story goes that now I had this one car, and I got 2 daughters. So what do I do? I mean, one of these days I'm going to
you're not going to break the car in half.
I can't cut the car in half. I can't have one buy one out of the other.
Right.
So I told my wife, you know, so we got to get another car. And again, what's the good old Ronnie say?
Right.
Oh, you're crazy. We're not getting another car.
Right.
I said, sure we are. One of these days, I'm telling you, before I die, we're going to buy a 69 Camaro like I had. And she thought I was nuts. Well, driving over to Oklahoma to Fort Sill to see my youngest daughter, I was looking on, I guess on the telephone or something, and I found this car up in Venice.
Right.
And it was that one over there.
And that's the Camaro.
That's the Camaro. So I stopped in and looked at it, and I said, I got to get that car. I said, I just got to buy that car. And my wife looked at it, and I said, Ronnie, do you like it? And she sat inside. She goes, yeah, it's really a nice car. I said, look, we can't take the money with us.
Right.
Let's just buy it, and we'll see what happens. So we bought it, and we had to do a lot of work to it, like I was showing you before on your list.
Two different personality cars,
yeah,
totally.
Entirely different. The reason I got the Camaro was, like I said, I wanted to be sure that each daughter got a car.
Right.
And they could pass it on to their kids if they want. But I want to be sure each daughter got a car and there'd be no fights. Well, I tell you, I don't think it's the daughters. I think the two son-in-laws are waiting for me to go so they can get the cars. But this car will the T-Bucket will most likely go to Tammy, because I did build it for her.
Okay.
The Camaro will probably go to Kathleen.
Okay.
Right? Unless they want to change.
Right.
That's up to them. I'm not getting
Well, let's take a look at the car while we're talking here. So you built this one. This is the one you built with your daughter when she was 3.
I built with my daughter and my wife, actually my 2 daughters, and we did this in Connecticut.
So some of the things with this, which I noticed, is like are these the original wheels that you have put on?
The original wheels I bought.
So these are old school Krager SS's. These are the ones everybody's looking for, and that's a deep dish old school. You can't buy them
very
anymore.
Hard to find. These are, I believe these were. I think they might be 8 or 10 inch. Those wheels.
Yeah, but they got the deep dish front to them, and they're the old school Krager SS's. So they're really like a time capsule and valuable.
And then another thing, when this car was built, it had wire wheels.
Okay.
Well, you couldn't drive this car with wire wheels. It would not stay on the road.
Right.
Couldn't balance them. You couldn't drive it. So we came down here. We changed it with Speedway Motors, and we bought the front kit with the different.
And you've taken this car out. I mean, you've driven it down here.
This. My wife drives this car. I drive this car. We do the same thing with them. These are just daily drivers.
Right.
I'm not going to make trailer queens out of them.
Right.
Right.
Plus, the other thing is, since you own boats, you know, same thing with a boat is if you don't drive these things, the wheel, all the seals start leaking and everything else. So you want to make them.
Worst thing to let them sit. So we actually use this thing. We go to Publix, we go shopping, we go to church with it. We use the Camaro the same way. We go to the local car.
Now the engine came from.
That's what I'm going to get into. So when my dad passed away and I had the engine in the garage, that's when I said, you know, I'm going to build that hot rod. So I had started the engine up in the garage. I said, that's it. I took it apart, and then I said, I told my wife, Ronnie, I got the engine. We're going to go build a car. I told Tammy build her a car. We're going to build her a car. So like I said, we bought the kit. I rebuilt the engine myself.
Now, did you? Because I mean, this engine, other than this is a standard engine, other than these pipes, which you could get from the kit.
This engine is basically a stock Chevrolet 350 cubic inch 300 engine, 300 horsepower.
But this is the one for your dad, Chevelle. But what I'm saying is, did you rebuild this before you got the kit?
No, I built this while I was building the kit.
Okay.
I did everything at the same time. I had the car in one garage and I had the engine in another garage. I completely tore the engine apart. It had 65,000 miles on it at the time. But I put rings, bearings, cam bearings, the whole 9 yards. But that's my profession.
Right.
I was a mechanic. So we put that engine in the car, and like I said, this is a basic 350, 300 horsepower. I believe it's the base Corvette motor. It was also the base engine that they used in the 69 Camaro, except in the Camaro they called it 295 horsepower. Okay.
So, and then of course you upgraded it with, you did all the dress up stuff with it.
Right.
And you changed this.
The strip it up because the other strip had points in it.
Right, and this is way more.
This runs, and it looks pretty.
Yeah.
It's like a MSD distributor.
And you took the more radical cam out.
I took the radical cam.
Well, you didn't. Your daughter took the more radical cam.
I was with her, and I had to take it apart. And she had a comp cam in it. I told her, take that off. You're gonna drive it in the street, and I think we took off the carburetor. We took the big 850 off, and we put a 780 on, or 750 on it.
Yeah, well, both kids like to work on it.
And both my daughters love working on these cars.
Well, and it's got so it's got on the front you've got fenders because you need fenders up north, right? In Connecticut,
you cannot register this car unless it had fenders. And then I was under the impression that when I was building, I had to take it to Wethersfield, Connecticut, get inspected. And I knew that if I took it to Wethersfield, the exhaust had to go underneath, had to have a fan shroud. So I found out somehow, me and my wife found out, that we could register as a truck. So we went down to a local motor vehicle with the bill of sale.
Right.
And I went up to the lady. I said, I want to register my car. She said, well, what do you have? I said, here's she said, what's that? I said, that's all the parts I put the car together with.
Right.
I had a list like this. And she didn't know what to do. I was smart. It was Memorial Day weekend. It was about 12:30. They were closing at 1. They just wanted to get out of there. So she just gave me the okay. They registered.
And so it's actually an 85 pickup? Is that what?
It registered a 1984 Total Performance pickup truck.
There you go. Okay.
Actually, I should put antique plates on this.
Okay.
But this has regular tags on it.
And it's got disc wheels in the front.
It's got disc brakes in the front.
Or disc brakes in the front, rather.
Drum brakes in the back. It's got a turbo hydromatic 350. It's got a Ford 8-inch.
Now, who did the paint?
The paint actually was done by Total Performance because they didn't want to sell me the car unless they built it. I said, look, I can't paint. I'm not a painter.
Right.
I'll buy the car from you, and I don't care what it costs. Well, that's going to cost you. Well, I think it was $700. You know, it's going to cost like $500 to paint the car. So I just said, go ahead. The guy thought I was nuts. $500, but it was a lot of money. But I don't paint it. And then
that's back when you could get the Earl Scheib 19 or 99.95. Yeah, I remember that.
No good. So then we had the pinstriping done.
Now that's painted pinstriping on there.
This pin is all hand done by this gentleman. I don't even know if this poor guy's living anymore, but it was like $250. This man here actually painted the pinstripe. His name was JC.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if he's around anymore. But this is all hand painted. Matter of fact, he was so good that Mickey, who actually owned the company, when they painted, they had to run the paint right here, and he didn't know what to do.
Right. So they called.
So the guy said, "We'll fix that. We're going to make a design right over the run, and we'll make the same thing on the other side, and you can't even see the run in the."
Now the most of these don't have any kind of a canvas, but this canvas like fits perfect. Was this also part of this kit, so you could get this?
This was an afterthought. I put this kit and this top on after I built the car.
Okay.
But I bought it from Total Performance.
And there's no doors, so it's a climb in, which is great when you're in your 30s. Yeah. But now we're a little bit older than that.
Would you like to see her get in?
So it's a little strange.
No, it's when I was 30 years old, 40 years old, I had no problem getting in.
And then the shifter down there is that deep, because it's a T-bucket. You don't want to have it in the way.
It can't be in the way.
I mean, you can. There are people that like them way up here, but no, it's better there.
It's an automatic, so. And the reason it's lower is because I actually raised the body off the chassis a little bit.
Right.
But the shifter's hooked up.
Now, does this have because you have a solid steering, it's not tilt. Is that tilt? No, it's not tilt. So does this have power steering, or you don't even need power steering because it's such a light car? It's basically that golf car probably weighs as much as this thing does.
1,600 pounds. It's very easy to drive.
It would be nice if you had power steering when you have to back up.
No, there's no power steering on it. It's not. I think it's a reverse Corvair steering box.
And you also said you have like what, some side curtains for it?
No, not on this.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay. I thought
this has no curtain. This is
okay.
Up in Connecticut, we could drive this car the end of June, July, and the very beginning of August.
And then it went away.
Then it went in the garage. It got too cold in August. Then September, October, it was definitely cold.
Okay.
Then it's up with the sand on the roads. The sand didn't come off the roads until like the beginning of June. So when we moved down to Florida, this car had 3,000 miles on it. And that was in 20 years. Now it's 15 years more down here, roughly. And it's probably over 25,000 miles on it.
That's because you could drive it year round, pretty much.
We drive this, like I said, this is like my daily drive. I have this one, I have that, and we have my Ford F-150, but we just drive this as a goof. We go to the store.
But it's got some really neat details, like the lamps on it and the lights on it and everything. I love just all the hoses and the exhaust system, which just like so makes the car.
Yeah.
But I think that the fenders are what makes the car. I mean, for you, the engine makes the car, and your daughter's name's on each side.
Yeah, you got to see that. Everybody who sees this car says the fenders make this car, and they don't understand why I put them on. And I got to tell them, in Connecticut, The reason was because you couldn't register the car on the street. You couldn't drive it without fenders.
But that's like what, for some reason, that fate of that you did it for makes this car stand out more than any other T-bucket I've seen down here.
There's no T-buckets down here like this.
So,
and there's the names. You can
yeah, we've got Tammy's
Tammy,
here.
That's Tammy, and when you walk around the other side, you go see Kathleen. And believe me, I am damn proud of both these kids. Like they're serving their country right now.
So Kathleen's going to have to get her name erased and then painted on that.
I don't think Tammy's going to do that to her. Actually, like I said, I got a funny feeling what's going to happen is when this car,
this is as clean underneath as it was.
This is very clean.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen when this car goes to them, I'm sure the husbands are going to take it, or
the grandkids
are
going to
get it.
Yeah.
Well, the grandkids drive it when they come down.
Oh, they do. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do drive when they come down.
So they're all used to it.
Yeah.
But have they seen this recently?
Yes, they were
because you haven't had it that long.
They were here last year for the holiday, for Christmas.
Okay.
And they saw that last year.
And well, we could show a little bit of it here, but what I'll do, guys, is since we visited this in the daylight when you could really see it, we'll put some video of it in the daylight, but just real quick. I mean, you can see the gauges, and this is a 4-speed big block car.
Right. Like I said, this is an M22, and he had in 1969 the L34 engine was only put in 2018 of these Camaros.
So this is a really short run.
You could only get the L34, the 396, 350 with an M20 or an M21. And this has the M22. That's the only part of this car that's really not numbers matching.
And this thing is underneath it. It's got. I mean, when you bought it, this is clean. This was probably a frame off at some point that somebody frame off restoration.
And it's a numbers matching car other than the transmission.
And it's a real SS, not RSSS, just a standard SS.
Real SS is the next 22 body, which is the SS trim.
And it's a real big block SS car. And like I said, I'm gonna put some better video in with light and stuff because we run a little bit out of light, but that's okay. But I mean, this thing glows, and actually, even in this light, you could see the exhaust and everything on this. Like, you keep your cars clean. These things are these are spotless. Yeah, even though you drive them, they are still spotless. They stay. So,
and this car was actually painted by all the paint and body work for this car was done by Cars in North Fort Myers.
Okay,
and
in Florida.
They do a hell of. You can look at it. They do a hell of a job. This stripe is painted on.
Yeah, and I think we showed that before when the first time you told me in the sun, and it was like I thought that was just a regular pinstripe sticker, and it's not. It's painted and it's under clear. A lot of coats of clear.
I'm not sure how many coats of clear,
but it's just
quite a bit.
And it's just a gorgeous. As this one is restored to like other than underneath the hood a little bit. It looks original.
The underneath looks just like it came out of the factory. Yeah. There's no chrome and under the headers. Yeah. It's basically stock. But like I said, we drive them. You know, both we drive these both.
But the reason the story on this is because your daughters helped you, and because it's your dad's engine. This is like this will be actually now you have grandkids that could drive it. So this is a 4th-generation car.
This is more like a family.
And it's
just not going anywhere.
If this was a car like this, it would be a Survivor because it was painted once.
Right.
That's it. It's only been done up once, and it's been almost 40 years.
Yep.
Which
stays in the garage.
But it's crazy because it's a fiberglass car, and I mean, just think of it. Just think a fiberglass 40-year-old Corvette. That would have been made in the same time frame back in '85. That is completely the way it was built, like the day it was built, with no new paint or anything else. And so, I mean, if I found this, it was an '85 Z28, if it was an '85 Corvette, if it was an '85 Pontiac, '85 Mustang, or something, and it looked like this, they'd be like, oh my God, this is Survivor with only a couple.
Well, this is painted with Centurion enamel.
Right.
And this one is painted with base coat, clear coat.
Right.
So this was the paint. That was the paint they were using in '83.
Right. But what I mean is, it's just the fact that it's never had accents. It's never been repainted. It is a Survivor, and with all the cool story about your daughters and stuff. Which, by the way, they don't know this video, so
they don't know yet.
They don't know yet. They'll see it when it comes up. So hopefully, Sergeant and the Colonel will both enjoy it.
I sure hope so.
So. But
I'm sure the husbands are going to enjoy it. They're going to be chomping at the bit. I'm just waiting to get it.
So, well, thank you guys so much for bringing me over and opening up your home and letting us see this car, which is basically a one of a kind. It was a one of a kind 40 years ago. It's still one of a kind. And there's so many parts on here that are from the 80s.
Yes.
That it's a time capsule.
This car is an 80s car. It really, and actually, when I built it, I tried to keep it more like what was done in the 60s. It's got a regular alternator with a regulator underneath. It's basically got a carburetor. I'm thinking no fuel injection and nothing. It's basically an upgrade of the 1960s. What the kids did in the 1960s, like the Beach Boys and all that. This is what they used.
But that's all. And yet, though, driving it around, it's perfect. Like it doesn't look like it's time. Like somebody doesn't go, oh, that's an old car. That should be you. If somebody would have told me I made this last year, I would have been like, okay. Yeah. It's timeless.
I tell people I made this thing 40 years ago. They look at me like I'm crazy.
It's timeless.
And it's the truth. It's a 40-year-old car.
Well, there you go, guys. That's why I drove up here tonight. I'm glad you guys stick with us. I hope you really enjoyed the story. A lot of times these cars, it's all about the story. It's about why people have them, why they keep them for 40 years. And, you know, you got 4 generations here, and this car is in such good condition, it will probably last 5 or 6 more generations, I hope.
Well, just as long as they keep gasoline on this planet.
So if you like this, guys, please put comments down. I'm sure you guys would love to hear comments about the car. And if anybody else had maybe a car from, what was the name of the company?
Total Performance.
Total Performance. So if you have a Total Performance car, let us know, because, you know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of them, I know they built them and then they got rid of them.
Yeah.
But this is probably one of the few that's still around.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
I'm sure Mickey Laurie will love to know that this car is still surviving. So, and I don't even know if he's around anymore. I'm sure his daughters are still around.
So this was a great kit, great car, great story, great people. So nice. I met you like about a week or 2 ago, and it's just been a fun time. And now I finally got to come here and share and see the story and share it. And so if you like this, please subscribe. Please put comments down there. Ring the bell. Do all the things that you guys like to do. And we will catch you later. So now you got to hear from April. April, should they subscribe to this channel even if they don't like cars today for this one?
Probably just for this one.